Welcome back to No Retakes. Today we're taking a look at A Fistful of Dollars. Oh yeah. That probably looks really stupid, but I don't care. Anyway, so this would be, I don't think it's the only Clint Eastwood movie I've ever seen, but it's one of the few, and I don't remember much of any of the other ones, so it's as good as fresh. So we start the show with Poncho Man showing up in town, and he just rides in on a mule out of nowhere to find a little boy being abused by some ruffians who are just shooting at him, like at his feet with guns as the kid runs off screaming. The kid's like, what, 6, 7 years old? I don't know. And Poncho Man does nothing. And probably a good thing, because they probably would have shot him. I don't know. The kid's mother, and I didn't think she was the mother at the time, because she didn't seem to be reacting very much to the kid getting shot at. But apparently there's some longer standing problem here, and she's not allowed to be with her son or the kid's dad, because the main guy in town, Ramon, I kept thinking of him as Romeo as I was watching, because I thought it was Romero, and that changed to Romeo, but oh well. Anyway, Ramon, he's the main guy in town, but he doesn't show up for a while. He apparently sort of won the girl over a dispute about cards, so she's a hostage in his house. Anyway, so Poncho Man, by completely ignoring the horrible things going on, walks away from that situation just fine, goes into town looking for a job. The innkeeper's like, well, there's two families. You got the Rojos on the one side and the Baxters on the other side, and both of them apparently are very interested in law and order, and they both want to be the big dog in town and to see the other group get lost. So Poncho Man kind of sizes up the situation, and he figures, oh, and when he first came into town on the mule, these guys from the Baxters shot at him for no good reason. Just keep on moving, we're going to shoot at your mule. He later tries to make them apologize for this. Anyway, so he is up trying to find work. So he gets an idea of the lay of the land, and he goes, here's where I lost track of what was going on, because he comes up with some interesting plans. But he is at first thinking he's going to work for both sides secretly or something, and try to get, double dip, to get paid by both sides and play them against each other. But he follows, and I think with the Rojos, he goes, does he work? He gets signed up to work for the Rojos first, or he just follows them first? Because I'm remembering the scene where he and the innkeeper follow the Rojos on, oh, there's a stagecoach. Okay, got the stagecoach. So the stagecoach shows up in town with a whole bunch of troops with it, and the Poncho Man wonders what's in the stagecoach, and the innkeeper, who's become his sort of friend, like, well, if you get close enough and they try to shoot you, you'll know it's gold. Well, he says, that's a great idea, and he walks up to the stagecoach, and he kind of examines the horse, and the guy next to the horse just lets him do that. And then when he gets close to the stagecoach and tries to look inside, a guy with a gun pokes him in the nose, and is like, nope, just keep moving. So, the stagecoach bothers him for some reason. Like, it keeps him up at night. It wasn't night. They kept him from sleeping. He's like, I want to know what's in that stagecoach. It's bugging me and I can't sleep. So he and the innkeeper follow the stagecoach to the river, where there's supposed to be an exchange of gold for guns between these two armies. But if I got this right, the army with the guns had already been slaughtered by the Rojos, who had taken their place, and they shot up the guys who had the gold. Then they just left all their bodies there and took off with the gold and the guns. And they're like, well, when the people come to investigate, they'll conclude that they just shot each other. It's great. We just need to make sure that there's no witnesses. Well, Clint Eastwood, Poncho Man, and the innkeeper sneak off in the middle of the night and take a couple of the bodies from the battle, stuff them in coffins, bring them to the graveyard, set them up kind of looking as though they're alive and sitting up but wounded, and have their guns at the ready next to a grave. And then Eastwood goes and explains to both sides separately that that a couple of the people from that battle escaped and they're in the graveyard. And so both sides show up and they have this gun battle. Meanwhile, Eastwood sneaks into the Rojo's ranch to steal the gold that was from the shipment, which he finds in their place with all the barrels of alcohol. And he picks up a couple bags of gold, and then he's just about to leave when the hostage woman, whose name is Marisol, she shows up, and he doesn't realize it's her, thinks it's a guard, so attacks her, knocks her out. I was like, oh shoot, I shouldn't have done that. But he sneaks her out of the ranch, and as the Rojos are returning from the gun battle, he runs her off to the Baxters and turns her over to the Baxter lady, who's, I don't know, she reminded me of a vampiress for some reason. But anyway, so they ascertain that she's okay, and then they decide, because their son, adult son, just got captured by the Rojos, so they're going to arrange for a trade. But in the middle of the trade, for some reason, Marisol's son is at the inn, and the people, there's like 3 adults there, Eastwood, the innkeeper, and the dad, and they all let him come out and hug his mom because he's crying so much. And I was very concerned for that kid's safety at that point. And then the Baxter boy goes back to his side, and it's all very tense because like anybody can start shooting at any time. And the Ramon was going to get the gal back no matter what, but he sends a guy over to shoot the dad or something, because like, we told you to get out of town and not come back. But the innkeeper uses a gun like, nope, you're going to not shoot that guy. And Eastwood kind of backs him up, so the guy backs off. But they hand the girl over anyway. And then we had a big debate over whether the girl was actually a sex slave kind of thing, or just being held hostage and nobody's taking her virtue. I really don't think it's quite that polite. But apparently Ramon did say he's the only person who can have her, because he's madly in love. Anyway, so she goes back, and Eastwood, he ends up giving some sort of information to the people, so the Rojos are real happy that he's with them. Also, at some point he was paid 100 gold in a little sack, and he, because he had gone over to the Baxters and had shot up like 4 of their guys. So the Rojos thought he was a great guy, and they paid him to be on their payroll. That was way back. And he gave back most of the gold, saying, I didn't feel like I earned it, and I'm going to go leave now. But they kind of got him to have a party with them. And then he fakes being drunk. So they put him in a room, and they just leave him alone. And so he wakes up, pulls himself together, and sneaks off to where Marisol is being held. And apparently she's, like, her son and the dad are in one house, and right across the way is where Marisol is being held by, like, 6 guys. And the kid's like, why can't I see Mommy? Why does that man over there get to see Mommy? So Poncho Man goes into the place where Marisol is being held and kills everybody, and then just absolutely wrecks the place. And the shots, the shots were heard by the people over here, but it takes them quite a while to get. This is the part that really confused me, because where these houses are, I was not really well aware of where they are compared to everything else. Because sometimes it seems like they're very close to town, and sometimes it seems like they're very far away from town. But the horses rode a long way between the Rojo Ranch and the place where Marisol is being held, so I assume they're quite far away. But at some point she was like part of being kept on the Rojo Ranch, and sometimes she's being kept right next to her son, and I didn't understand what was going on there. But anyway, so Poncho Man kills all the people in there except one of them. Gets up and tries to shoot him, but he manages to throw like a machete like straight through the guy. I mean, it's not even turned sideways so it would go through ribs, but it like sticks out in the back. So it kills him that way, breaks the whole place up, grabs Marisol, like, come with me, and takes her to her son and the dad, and tells them to just run for the border, and here's all the money that I made. And he just hands over a whole bunch of notes. And, well, I don't know how close to the border they are, but he sends them off on foot through desert country. So I'm hoping they were okay. No horses. But anyway, so they head off, and he doubles back to the ranch and manages to get back just about the time that the whole posse is showing up. But when he tries to get back in his room, it turns out that some of the people there had already figured out that he was gone, and they were waiting for him, and they ambushed him. And so they have fun just beating the crap out of him. And he's all bloody. And the blood in this movie was really weird. I mean, half the time it looked like ketchup, the other half it looked like tempera paint. It was odd. But they beat him up so badly that he can barely crawl. And then they leave him alone without any... because they're trying to get information on where Marisol is the thing. They leave him alone without any guard or anything, just thinking that he's completely out of it. Well, he manages to rig this giant, like the biggest barrel of booze in the place on this ramp. So when two of the guys come in to investigate, and one of them was the guy who had been shooting at the kid at the beginning. But when they come in to torture him some more, he just rolls the thing down at them, and it smushes them against the door, and the booze spills everywhere. And then he crawls out and manages to get around the corner just as some of the other people show up. And they go in, and they think he's hiding in there. Well, he manages to crawl over and light a match and throw it in there so everything goes on fire. And then he gets out. But while everybody's fighting the fire and then trying to find him, they're running around, they're shouting threats and everything, he's crawling under the porch, and he gets to the Undertaker. Oh, the Undertaker guy is awesome, by the way. He's probably my favorite character of the whole piece. He's got this little beard, and he's this wizened old man who's just like, I love being able to measure bodies by just looking at them, and there's a lot of business here, it's great. He's the one person in town who has a functional job, and he loves his job. So Eastwood hides in a coffin on the back of a cart, and did I just call him Eastman? Eastwood, Poncho Man, hides in a coffin at the back of a cart, and gets the Undertaker guy to try to take him out of town. And this is like midnight or something. Like, why would this guy be doing this at midnight? Nobody notices that it's suspicious or anything. Because they're having a fight out over at the Baxter place. And they blow up the front brick wall that was protecting the place a bit. And then they shoot they set it on fire, and then they shoot everybody who comes out. And then they shoot Baxter, they shoot his son, and then when when Mrs. Baxter comes out and is going, murders, murders, kind of hypocritically, they shoot her too. So Baxter's completely gone. Only the Rojos are left, and they're down a bit. Well, Eastwood gets away, and he hides out in a mine for I don't know how many weeks until he's able to walk again. And his only friends are the innkeeper and the undertaker. Well, the innkeeper gets captured by the Rojos, and the undertaker comes to tell him this is a problem, but the guy is not going to talk. He's very loyal and stubborn, and so they're like hanging him. Okay, so assuming the camera works this time. So Eastwood's hiding out in the coffin at the back of the undertaker's cart, and he's very slyly watching what goes on with the Baxters, because he values the information more than he values getting out safely. But so eventually the undertaker takes him out of the way, and he ends up in the mine. Don't know if the mine part. I don't know how much just got dropped by the recording, so we'll see. Anyway, he ends up hiding in the mine for a few weeks, probably weeks, until he's able to walk again. And the undertaker and the tavern keeper, who are the only two people who are his friends, they bring him supplies. Well, one day the undertaker comes up and says, you know, they captured the innkeeper and they're torturing him for information about you. He's not going to give you up. And he brings Eastwood, he brings him bullets, like a whole, what's it, bandolier, is that the word? And a thing of dynamite. So Eastwood returns. Well, they're torturing the guy. They're hanging him by his arms in the middle of town, and trying to get information out of him, beating him up with guns, and about to whip him when things blow up behind the Baxter house. And as they're like, what? Then Eastwood shows up. Oh, Eastwood has been in the mine. He has been experimenting with this thin sheet of metal. So he's actually wearing that when he shows up. So he's been trying to figure out how well bullets go through it. And when he finally got something that he trusts, he was wearing it, and it wasn't covering all that much of him. So he's lucky that the guy's a good shot, I guess. But he did find out early, because the guy was shooting at armor, and he was a really good shot, and he could shoot like a heart shape from the stairs. So he knows that about Ramon, and he so he shows up going through all these layers of smoke, and they're like, huh? And so Ramon shoots him, and he falls down. And Ramon's like, ha-ha, and then he gets back up. And like, what? Bam! This happens a few times. Ramon is getting frustrated and sweaty, and Eastwood keeps saying, come on, if you want to kill me, you got to aim for the heart. You got to aim for the heart. And Ramon is not genre savvy enough to figure out that this is, you know, briar patching going on here. So he shoots him until he runs out of bullets. And then Eastwood reveals what's been going on, because, you know, it's not like other people have guns next to him and might possibly shoot him in other places, or now that he's removed his armor, that they might shoot him in the armored place that was protected a minute ago. But anyway, so they have a little standoff, and it's all very tense, and then boom, 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 and everybody's down except Ramon. And Ramon earlier had said that his rifle could beat out a pistol, so they have a little showdown to find out which one of them wins. And surprisingly, Ramon kills Eastwood, and it's all over. I mean, surprisingly, Ramon dies very slowly and painfully, because he's the boss. And that's how you take care of bosses. And Eastwood shoots down his friend by shooting the rope real nice. And then you have just the undertaker measuring out the corpses, and the town is left with widows that we've seen like once, maybe, and the innkeeper and the undertaker, and I don't know, possibly some children that we never saw, and a bell ringer. And And we figured out that the wealth per capita went up significantly in the past couple of weeks. And Eastwood is like, well, I've done what I came to do. I'm riding off. We figure he made enough money. He's going to move on to another spot. What am I forgetting? Any major things? He did this neat thing when he was trying to sneak back to the room where they had all of these horses going, and he's going, but he's going anywhere but the actual path. So you'd think it would take longer. And you'd also think that the kind of dust trail that he left when he crossed paths with them, they would notice or something, because they're leaving dust trails too. But nope, they completely did not notice him. People at the river crossing, when they had the supposed exchange of gold for guns, none of the guards were looking anywhere but at the exchange. And that's just bad guard work, because Eastwood and the innkeeper were just up the hill a little bit, and Eastwood's head was poking up with his hat on and everything, just fully visible if anybody had glanced his way. We also had debates about the efficacy of their tactics when they were getting shot, and whether you can shoot back if you're riding on a horse, even a military horse. But yeah, so... Oh, and just at the end there, just after he shot Ramon, and he's like, all right, everything's done. Then we had the bearded hat guy who'd shot at the kid in the beginning was looking out on a balcony, and he was putting his shotgun right through the curtains, but innkeeper shot him and he like tumbles down, and he had the worst blood effect on him ever. That was like red tempera paint coming down her rivulets. It was ridiculous. So that was a fistful of daughters. Fistful of daughters. So that was a Fistful of Dollars, major Clint Eastwood movie, and it was a lot of fun to watch. See you next time. Addendum. Apparently, I totally forgot to mention Fancy Dress Guy and Leatherface, who were like two of the brothers to Ramon. I think there were 3 total. Leatherface had just noticeable bad facial problems, like had been out in the sun and weather a lot. And he was the first one that showed up. And then Fancy Dress Guy had this really neat, in one lighting it looked kind of plum colored, but later it looked brown. So I think it's probably brown and it was just lighting. But it was just this really nice fancy outfit. And when he shows up, the Leatherface has already hired Eastwood, and the Fancy Dress Guy is like, so why don't I just kill him and get your money back? And the guy's like, are you crazy? That's not going to work because reasons. So just hold on. We need to wait till Ramon gets back and we'll do things a certain way. Just leave the thinking to me. Because Fancy Dress Guy just repeatedly throughout the movie makes really bad decisions and comes up with bad plans and just overall proves himself to be not intelligent, I would say. So there's that. But yeah. So, addendum done.